Let a great opportunity slip right through our hands. I thought in the first half we, not because we had the lead, but we played offensively and defensively as a unit. We missed a bunch of free throws, and we turned it over 9-10 times in the first half, or else we could have had a bigger lead. But we're on the road, and you're playing a really good basketball team that's a program, not a school that's got two good players. You're playing a team that's got a program, that's got old players that know how to win. They know what it takes to win. They play their style. And in the second half, we hit a bad stretch of basketball. We got completely out of character offensively, which led to some runouts for them. And then in the second half, our inability to guard the basketball on the perimeter, because they just said, we're not doing anything. We're just taking the ball and driving it right down your throat. It wasn't some sophisticated offense that they were running. And then we resorted to just fouling. All we did was foul, three-point shooters. We had a bad stretch in the second half. And when you play really good teams, they make you pay when you have those kind of stretches.
Frank, before the game, just when did you find out about Sasser not being able to play, Mills not being able to play, and then obviously, Coach Sampson not being able to be there? And did that affect things for you guys at all, or how did you sort of react to that and maybe adjust before the game started?
As far as Mills and Sasser, we found out right before the game. We went out there and they were in boots, but it's like we told the players, this is not a team that has good players. This is a program. That means that they've got a lot of good players and they've got a winning culture in place. I found out Kelvin called me yesterday, and I'm thinking about him and obviously his son Kellen. Kellen, has two young children, and now he's got to be away from them, and Kelvin's one of the great guys in this business, and you can see how hard those guys play, the kind of competitors that they are, because that's where their players get it from, is from his leadership.
Colin?
Yeah, Frank, just what was, the main issue offensively in the second half? You kind of touched on it. Was it just guys getting sped up and settling for bad shots? Just kind of how did you see it playing out in the second half? Yeah,
they just took their ball pressure and their denials to a different level. And our guys decided that instead of cutting, passing, screening, that we're going to play one-on-one basketball. And that's what they want you to do. They're really, really long on the perimeter, and they're ball hawks. And they play with an unbelievable toughness on the perimeter. And we continued to try and play one-on-one basketball during that stretch. We got out of running our offense. And we couldn't beat them off the dribble. And the few times we beat them off the dribble, we spent all week talking about they're not letting you shoot a layup. You better drive the pass. Well, we drove to try and do our own thing and couldn't pass, and that led to bad offense. And Houston had everything to do with it. They changed the level of intensity that they were defending with and got us completely out of character.
John?
Frank, it looked like AJ had some good looks in the first half and they just didn't fall for him. How do you feel that affected him throughout the game and him going 2 for 10 from the field?
Yeah, AJ's got to make threes for us and Jermaine's got to make free throws, and neither one did that today. So when you don't make shots, then you better score at the rim and you better get to the foul line. And we didn't score at the rim, and when we got to the foul line, we missed free throws, and that's a bad recipe. So we got to make. I believe I told you guys, if you're going to be Houston, you got to make jump shots. I believe I shared that with you guys during the week. Well, we didn't make jump shots today, so we didn't win.
Michael?
When you guys were rolling early on in the first half and, built that lead, it seemed like, both TJ Moss and Jalen McCreary were two guys who contributed quite a bit to that run. And I know you've talked about both guys a lot as far as, what they did during practice. Just curious what you made of their games tonight. Seemed like maybe, in the second half wasn't quite as strong, but it seemed like in the first half, both guys contributed quite a bit for you.
Yeah, TJ's been great. TJ was great last year. TJ brings a mindset of toughness that we need. I always use the phrase with TJ, he fights the ball defensively. That means beating him off the dribbles hard. He doesn't get out of the way. And then on offense, he knows where he belongs. That's why I've always played him. Last year, the ball didn't go in the basket for him. This year he's worked really hard at regaining his confidence there, and he's making jump shots for us. So, and then Jalen missed a whole week with that head injury and wasn't very good last week because he tried to go with very little practice. He gave us a good week of practice this week, so I'm not surprised he played better for us. We need him to play even better and understand what we're doing on offense a lot more than he is right now. But Jalen's somebody that needs to help us this year.
Colin?
Frank, you kind of talked about Houston ratcheting their level up in the second half. Do you feel like your team answered the bell on both ends of the floor? And if they didn't, just how, I guess, frustrating is that for you and the coaching staff?
No, we when that stretch in the second half where they went from down 6, I want to say, to like up 7. On defense, all we did was foul them. We had no discipline. All we did was foul. And then when they missed and we didn't foul, that's the stretch where we let them get offensive rebounds that got us in trouble. And then on offense, we completely broke down. It's we stopped playing offense the way that we have practiced all week about what we wanted to do. And then we had some opportunities. I mean, AJ misses a corner 3. We got some free throws. You're on the road. You can't turn it over, and you better make free throws. If not, you got no chance to win, especially against these kind of teams that like Houston. And we made some free throws at the very end of the game to make the number respectable. But I want to say we were like 11 for 23 or something like that. Going into the last 2 minutes of the game. So it's those are two things that we're turning the ball over way too much. And it's not like we're in the open court turning it over. We're turning it over because we're playing selfishly and stubbornly in set offense. We didn't do that in the first half. We did it in the second half.
Last question to Michael.
You mentioned earlier in the week just how much of an opportunity, this game was, playing a top 10 opponent, a great coach team. And, just with the schedule you have early on, all these games, what do you think you learned about this group? And what do you think, these players kind of learned about themselves from this game? Because you had those flashes, especially early on where you guys were, winning against these guys. And then obviously the second half lapse. Like, what's sort of the main takeaway and the lessons you hope you guys learn?
Yeah, we're right there. You go on the road and play a top 10 team in the country. We're right there. I mean, we got to worry about becoming a little bit more disciplined than we were today. I didn't think we were very disciplined in the second half today. I thought we got into, you cannot allow the physicality of the game to get you out of character. That got us out of character today. We got selfish offensively, selfish defensively. So we got to learn from it. We got to do better. Our bigs all need to keep getting better, keep improving. They're not where they need to be at yet. But we need all 3 of those guys to keep improving. And then on the perimeter, that's why you play these teams in non-cut. At the end of the day, it's all about league play. Like, this is awesome, but we play 18 games in the SEC just like this. And we have to embrace the stuff that we did right, do it better, maybe make some free throws. So instead of being up 4 or 5 at the half, you can be up 9, 10, 11 at the half. That's the kind of things that you have to do when you go on the road. And we just, I say it all the time. We sign up for a season. We don't sign up for a day. And we played the second half of the Tulsa game and the first half of this game today the way this team is capable of playing. Now we got to figure out a way to put 2 halves and play closer to 40 minutes along those lines.
Thank you, Frank.